Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Fan Behavior and F1 Podcast. I am Zoe, and as always, I'm here with Hannah.
Hello.
What a big week this has been in Formula One.
Crazy.
Hopefully you all listened to our emergency podcast last week that we recorded right after the news that Daniel Ricciardo is going to be back in Formula One. It has, as of right now, been our most successful podcast episode to date, which... You know what I think shows, obviously, one, that people love drama, they love to be informed, but also Daniel Ricciardo sells.
Yeah, he does.
Talk about Daniel Ricciardo, people are going to come through.
They certainly are.
So to all the haters out there, if you are a Danny Ric hater, I don't know why you're listening to this podcast, but if you are one, this is why people post him on social media 24/7. This is why he's always talked about, because people interact.
Yep.
So that's that on that. But thank you in all sincerity for listening, for watching us on YouTube. If you're watching us on YouTube, please like and comment, subscribe.
Yes, please.
The more subscribers there, the better. Even if you don't watch us on YouTube, but you want to be nice, just hit subscribe.
Yeah.
Rate and review us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, all the things.
All the places.
Just if you haven't done that yet, just take 2 seconds to do it. It helps us out a lot, and we'd be very grateful. Any other housekeeping matters to go over?
I don't think so.
Okay.
You nailed it.
Obviously, this is a non-race week episode, so we're going back to our original. We haven't done this in a while because there's been so many races in succession. We haven't done our traditional segments that we typically do. So we're going to get right into it with our fan of the week. And maybe for those who don't know, we should maybe explain what fan and faux is.
Sure.
And we haven't done that before. And I feel like it's pretty self-explanatory, but essentially it is like our rose and thorn of the week in F1, the high point, the low point. It's obviously fan, given our name, fan behavior, and then faux because it's, I don't know, the opposite of a fan. It's not the opposite, but it's a negative.
Right.
No,
and it's the alliteration, so
yeah, exactly.
That's really why.
All right, would you like to share your fan?
Yeah. So it's similar to yours, and I think everyone's going to be kind of obvious, but it's not just Danny being back in F1, but I literally can't wait for the Yuki Daniel content. They are marketing kings together. They are just going to totally disrupt the space. And I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, watch this space. It's going to get so wild. I mean, even just the content where it was Pierre and Yuki, but Daniel popped in unexpectedly. I mean, it's just gold. It really is. And more mini boats potentially.
Yeah. What would you, if you were the Alpha Tauri social media admin, what would the first thing be that you'd have them do?
It's a good question. I like any sort of the competition between them. I think it's funny because they don't take themselves too seriously, but they're also competitive. You know what I mean? I think they get really playful with it. So I do like the Unserious Race Series that they, that they've been doing. I also think the Most Likely To would be funny just because I think they'd have outrageous answers.
I like the also reacting to different snacks.
Yeah.
Obviously, for obvious reasons.
Yeah, if Daniel did if they shared snacks from their homes together and did a tasting of that, because I feel like Yuki would be really confused about Australian
snacks.
Yeah, will he love Tim Tams or no?
For sure.
I mean, of course, because he's got a good palate, but things like that, or Vegemite, or is it?
I don't think he'd like. I don't think he'd like Vegemite.
No,
I feel like Yuki's snacks would all be top tier. I feel like Japanese snacks are always just so good.
Mm-hmm.
So, and I'd be curious, if he picked out what he would give,
they both do the shopping.
I'd like to know what his elite Japanese snacks are.
Yeah, because I think I was actually watching one of Ryan Gosling recently. It was maybe Variety. I don't know. One of the maybe Lad Bible. I can't remember. It doesn't matter. But they were comparing, I think, British snacks to the Canadian snack counterpart, or and he was kind of ranking which one he liked best. And so I think that would be fun.
Yes. Yeah. Cannot wait for the content that comes out. I hope it just. I mean, Alpha Tauri, you cannot let us down.
They won't.
You don't need a lot of money. You don't need a big budget. You just need the two of them in a room.
Yeah.
And just let them be wild.
Yeah.
And it's going to be great. And you're going to get the views and enjoy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So my fan is obviously Danny being back in F1, but specifically this week because he has not raced yet. So there's I cannot be sad, disappointed.
We're just excited.
We're just excited about it. It's just the content is up. I love the videos of him, going back to Alpha Tauri, Franz Toast, welcoming back in the factory.
Honey Badger.
Yeah, the Honey Badger signs everywhere, him getting fitted for his race seat, all the good vibe content. He's in Alpha Tauri clothing.
Yeah, his smile is back.
Yes, his smile is back. His hair is a little thinner, but that's okay.
That's all right. And I got to be honest, like he looks great all the time, but white and navy suit him so much more than orange.
I was going to say, I feel like he can pretty much pull off any color.
For sure. But like, he was a bumblebee for a while and then
that actually worked.
I don't like the combo. It's not him. I thought he looked fine in it. I just don't like the combo. We're blue girls.
Well, yes, but I feel like for him, it looks good on him.
Yeah, it was fine.
Anyway, so happy about that. We'll see if it's my fan next week, TBD. But for now, we're riding the high.
Yeah.
Okay, your faux.
It's Daniel related as well. I love the Enchante merch. I need him to not release so much of it because I don't have willpower to not buy something. So it's really it's a me thing.
Yeah.
But there's going to be another Enchante Cafe drop, which
it's the Enchante Beach Club.
Beach Club.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah. Get it right.
The color palette looks great. It's Aperol themed, or it seems to be Aperol themed. And even though I don't care for one of those, they are beautiful to look at and
aesthetically pleasing.
They are. And, again, it's a me thing. And I'm happy for him. But
that it's the last collection of the summer. So
hey, but fall is, summer's nearly done.
I know. I feel like I've done pretty well. I haven't ordered anything from him since the Chalet collection in the winter.
Oh, good for you.
Yeah. So I'm pretty proud of myself for holding strong.
I think I'm gonna, unless there's something that I just like can't imagine not having, I think I'm gonna hold off until hopefully he does another Rick rodeo.
Yeah.
I don't know if he'll call it that, but the Austin
cowboy themed merchandise. Yeah, because
that was the first thing
you didn't get like a hoodie or anything.
No, I got the like bowling shirt thing. Yeah, I wore it to the race.
Yes, you did. So my faux is obviously, this is all Danny Ric content. So apologies if you don't like Danny Ric, but
it's how we started this journey. So
exactly. It's just I don't like the idea of now I have to go back to being stressed every race weekend is really tough.
Yeah.
I do feel like I'm in a better place than I was last year.
And so is he.
Yeah. But I feel like I have better perspective on the whole situation. I'm not a newbie anymore to this sport. Right. My parents are reacting above us to the Wimbledon final.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I feel like I'm better prepared mentally for it. But it's just like I'm gonna be, typically Friday mornings, I don't really care. I don't watch FP1, but I don't even care to really look at the result. Like, I'm not like curious. I'm like, I'll see who finished in the top 3, but other than that, whatever. I'm gonna be like, where did Daniel finish in FP1? Like, it's going back to that level. I'll be watching FP2 because I'll want to see how he's doing, and also because it's going to be all anyone can talk about.
Yeah.
Qualifying, it's going to be like
nail biter.
Yeah, and I'm already stressed during qualifying anyway,
right?
Because I have my favorites who I love and want to do well, but
now your main favorite is back.
Exactly, and it's just totally different. So
exciting times, though.
But I'm optimistic. I am. What's the word? I am. What's the saying? Like, expect the worst, but hope for the best. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I'm at.
Yeah.
I don't want to expect greatness, but I'm hoping that it's going to be great.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Cautiously optimistic.
Exactly. Okay. Pop culture moment of the week is very fitting. As I just mentioned, my parents are reacting to the Wimbledon final, which is currently in a 5th set at the moment. So
Djokovic just smashed his racket.
Right. But a lot of F1 drivers were at Wimbledon this past week. You had Charles and Pierre on a little double date.
Cute.
Which was very cute. They were both the photos of them reacting to the matches. People were like, this is how me and my friend are when we're watching F1.
Yeah.
Charles Pierre with his prayer hands.
Always with the prayer hands.
I understand.
Mm-hmm.
George and Carmen went as well, looking excellent.
Dapper.
Zhou Guanyu is actually at the final today.
Oh,
you saw his outfit.
I have not.
He has a great suit on.
Of course he does.
Yeah, impeccable. Sebastian Vettel also went this past week. So we love a good sports crossover moment. There's nothing better than when you're
Bunch of goats in one room.
Sports interests collide.
Mhm.
It really is. And I do feel like of all sports, like tennis and F1, there is a lot of crossover.
Because for people who, I mean, obviously fans, but a lot of tennis players and a lot of F1 drivers live in Monaco, right?
Yes, exactly.
That was a fun fact that Zoe taught me.
Yes. Obviously we have the very iconic, that I also manifested the Daniel Ricciardo Matteo Berrettini meeting at the Met Gala.
True.
That was
wow, what a time.
High point for me. That was great. So
I didn't even have to manifest the Anne Hathaway. Never could we have even dreamed something like that happening.
Exactly. So that was fun. US Open, which is in September, probably won't have really any F1 drivers, but you never know.
You never know.
You never know. So love to see that. Okay, question of the week for those again who maybe don't know. This is where Hannah and I both come up with a random question that we ask each other, and it's good times. You go ahead first.
So I sort of have two, because one's more like a learning moment. So I think I want to ask. I mean, I know we have a learning moment, but it's more. But I thought of a fun one during your intro because you said Succession.
Oh,
and I want to know who you would cast, like what F1 drivers you think would be Kendall, Roman,
Shiv.
Well, I was going to say Tom and cousin Greg.
Okay.
I mean, you could put Shiv in there too.
Kendall, Roman, Tom, and Greg. Let me think about this.
I still need to watch the rest of this last season.
Yeah,
I know.
Kendall is a sad. I mean, I would. He doesn't have the temperament or the personality of Kendall, but like in terms of just being like sad boy summer, I think it's got to be Charles Leclerc.
Okay.
Is Kendall just high hopes and then comes crashing down?
Sure.
Roman. I mean, Roman's gotta be like Lando Norris.
Okay.
Tom is like the Midwestern kind, basic guy. Who would that be? Can you give me some suggestions? I mean, maybe George.
Yeah. Okay.
George Russell, and then I'm gonna say cousin Greg. Cousin Greg. It's kind of a toss up. It depends on which way you want to go. Could be Daniel.
Yeah.
Could be Yuki.
Yeah.
Kind of the silly, goofy guy.
Yeah. So hybrid. Okay.
I might end up thinking of other people that fit better, but that's just what I thought of on the spot. So
okay,
we'll see. Did you want to save your other one?
Well, no, I can go now. So I was listening, and so if you listen to the DRS F1 podcast with Dak Shepard and some people, they brought up this, and I just thought it was really interesting. Obviously, F1 is like huge marketing, blah, blah, blah. And I guess one of the co-hosts had a friend whose business was looking at advertising with a 6-inch circle on the front wing of the Mercedes.
Yeah.
How much do you think that costs?
A 6-inch circle on the front wing.
Just front wing only, nowhere else.
I'm for like a season.
The whole season, yeah.
I mean, I would say definitely in the tens of millions.
Yeah, $20 million. And I had guessed 10, and then and again, allegedly, this is like a third-party story, obviously, but I just think that's bonkers. So when you think about like if someone has 2 stickers, or if someone has stickers on the car and a patch on the race suit, it's like the amount of money. Yeah, I just thought that was interesting. So wanted to share.
Crazy.
I was hoping you'd get it wrong, but I should have known better.
Well, I didn't really say.
I know, but you were close.
It was a cop out.
You did say tens plural, which is correct.
Okay. My question: you are going on a vacation and get to bring 3 F1 drivers. Who are you bringing on this vacation? And let's say it's like a beach vacation. You're at like a resort.
Okay.
So you can, there's swimming involved, maybe some beach activities, but also like you're lounging, you're hanging out,
relaxing.
Yeah.
Okay. I think this is going to sound kind of weird, but I think I'm going to bring George because I think he's a planner.
Okay.
Which is helpful. I can't be the only one planning things,
Okay.
And then Daniel, because first of all, we can now. And I just think he's a good vibe for every situation.
Yep.
And then I think Carlos. Same reason. He's always down for activities. And I mean, I could really pick most of them.
That's a good list.
I think I'd like to swap out Lando for George. I want Lando coming
Yeah,
instead of George.
Lando, Daniel, and Carlos.
Yeah.
They're all former teammates.
Yeah, I just realized how much that would change the vibe.
They're gonna have a great time together.
Yeah, no disrespect to George, but I think that will be more fun. Plus, if Lando needs to do a DJ set or whatever, that's fine.
Right.
We'll find a club that will allow him to do that.
That's great.
Thank you.
Okay. Learning moment of the week for those again who maybe don't know what this is. We try to educate here also on this podcast and not just have it be all,
which is good because I'm often learning during these learning moments.
Unhinged content. But we get some questions every once in a while on our Instagram DMs asking about certain terms and what things mean. And so this is a great place for us to maybe help educate people who don't know as much or are learning about the sport like we are still. And so the question today is, what do tire blankets do? I think that's become a talking point. Obviously, Daniel Ricciardo, during the infamous tire test that got him an F1 seat, he was testing tires that supposedly do not need tire blankets. F1 is basically, they're trying to get rid of tire blankets because they use a lot of energy and they're trying to be more sustainable. And so they would like to find a solution to not have tire blankets. But everyone's like, well, what are these things? So if you've noticed during or before any session, practice, qualifying the race, the engineer, like the pit crew people will have these, they are like covers essentially over the tires, and they'll keep them on there as long as possible until the driver is about to head out, and then they'll take them off and the driver will go. And obviously it sounds, this sounds very obvious, but tire blankets keep the tires warm, and they have to charge these tire blankets, and they keep them at a certain temperature depending on like the track conditions, whether it's cold, is it super hot. If the track is super hot, you obviously don't have to heat the tires as much. Is it wet? Is it super dry? Like, it all depends, but that changes given the conditions. And the reason that they do this is because the more warm the tires are, the more grip they have, and the less likely they will crash or spin out or whatever. And so especially given the very first lap of a race, or very early on, when the tires are not warm at all because it's early on, that's when it's most important. So it's also used in a way, it's like a safety thing as well, because you're preventing, especially on a opening lap of a race, and you hear this all the time about when certain crashes happen or whatever, they'll always say like the tires just weren't warm yet, they skidded, which caused an incident, whatever. So we'll see what ends up happening with these allegedly new tires that don't need tire blankets. We'll see if that actually, then Daniel did have a bit of a spin during the testing, and so everyone was like, well, looks like those tire blanket tires or non-tire blanket tires like aren't really working. Obviously, who knows,
right?
But that's what they do.
So question, because I think we had this conversation before, because I was confused by them in that, so they do need to be, they are plugged into something to get warm. Okay, because at some point I thought we were talking, maybe I'm misremembering, but I thought it was more like they didn't need to be plugged into anything, but they worked sort of like the foil blankets after a marathon or something. They just like kept heat in. So that makes a lot more, because I think for a long time I was like, it's so random, like, why are you getting rid of tire blankets if they work? Like, who cares? I didn't realize that they actually took a charge. So that makes way more sense.
And also that's why you will see drivers like on formation laps and stuff, they'll zigzag around because they're trying to get their tires warm.
And like with safety cars, they do that to keep them warm.
Yes, exactly. So tire warmth is very, very important.
Crucial, some would say. And I think that's what's interesting too, is like, I completely respect the desire and need to reduce energy consumption. But if this is and I know they're testing and hopefully there's going to be tires that work, but if it's a safety concern, can we cut energy from something else in order to maintain the tire blank? You know what I mean?
Right. I guess it's also a thing of like, you kind of need to test them out to see what actually ends up happening.
For sure.
Because obviously crashes happen even with tire blankets.
Yeah, of course.
So it's like, is it a lot more than there would be if there wasn't tire blankets, blah, 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 or were, who knows?
Yeah,
we'll
not
see.
me.
But that's tire blankets for you. All right, so now we have a little interview thing we did with our friend Lizzy, also known as Pit Lane Lizzy on TikTok, Instagram, where we discuss all of the silly season rumors, all the craziness that you've heard this week about Lando to Ferrari, Carlos Sainz to Audi, all that craziness. We go over with Lizzy. We talk more about Daniel Ricciardo to Alpha Tauri.
Just for the record, we won't stop talking about Daniel Ricciardo for the rest of the season.
Well, yeah, now
we had a hard time not talking about him before, and now we have permission again. So buckle up.
We also get into who might resign contracts for next season, like what's going on with Lewis, all those people. So good fun time. So if you're curious about silly season and just like what's going to happen to people's seats going forward, stay tuned for that. Anything else to add before we?
No, but I am curious about people's thoughts on silly season. So if you watch on YouTube, leave some comments.
Yes.
Get chit-chatting.
Exactly. Who's gonna stick around? Who's gonna leave? What's gonna happen? What? And also, please, we at the end of the episode we share our predictions for Hungary. We share our predictions for Daniel in Hungary.
Yeah.
And I make a bit of a bold prediction, I do have to say. We'll see.
It's no podium, but it's bold.
It's no podium.
Yeah.
But we'll see what happens. So stay tuned for that and let me know if you think I'm way off the mark or if I'm actually, maybe onto something here. We shall see.
We shall see.
All right, guys, enjoy Lizzy. Lizzy, thank you so much for joining us on Fan Behavior Podcast. You mentioned before we got on that this is your very first podcast. So we are very honored to have you on our show.
It is number one.
How do you feel?
I feel good. I'm excited.
Good. I'm so glad. You are obviously killing it on TikTok, Instagram, all the things, but I don't think our listeners know that we actually met. Us and you met last year in Austin because you magically found us in the crowd of people
at the pep rally.
Yeah, that was so fun. I saw you from afar. Yeah,
that was such a experience. So it was wonderful to actually meet you in person last year, and now it's great to have you on the show. So we're happy you're
full circle.
Yes, exactly.
Yes, we have multiple full circle moments to talk about.
Oh, 100%. And that's obviously why we had you on, because we're going to be talking about all the silly season stuff going on, all the crazy rumors, but of course the Daniel Ricciardo stuff, because even though we did an emergency podcast last week, there's still so much to discuss. And you are a Daniel Ricciardo stan like the rest of us. So
yes,
you had to be on this for that part.
Absolutely.
How did you feel when you found out about Danny Ric going to Alpha Tauri?
I was shocked, but not surprised, only because I had heard so much about Nick. But I was sitting on my phone at like 8:00 in the morning because I'm in the US trying to work, and I was getting no work done because I kept seeing like the progression of rumors. And then it actually dropped and I was like, I don't know. I don't believe my life right now. I never would have expected that he came back this year. That just was literally not in my brain whatsoever.
Yeah, I know. And it was very, I think we had the same feeling, like, is this real? Is this not real? You don't want to believe that it's true until it's confirmed. But then you're like, oh, wait, actually, I think this might actually be happening.
Right. Yeah. When you're in your delusional era, it's like you just latch on to every little piece of evidence. You're like, oh, my gosh, it's happening. And I'm just glad our souls weren't crushed by the afternoon, like they were lifted.
Right.
Because it could have just been like all these rumors. And then it was like, JK kidding.
Right.
Honestly, I woke up thinking, I'm so excited he's driving a Red Bull for the tire test and everything.
Yeah.
Right.
And then it just escalated very quickly. Like I had such low expectations. I was just happy to see him driving an F1 car, and then he had an F1 seat. So
yeah.
Yes. I felt like I don't know what it feels like to be a mom, but I imagine like a mom when she sends her kid off to school for the very first time, like you're just like, I hope that they have fun. I hope that they make friends. I hope that they have a good time. That's how I felt about his tire test. I was just like, I hope he just has a good time out there and just enjoys himself. And then little did we know he was going to come home that day with the grand prize.
A whole seat in F1.
I know, right? We're all wearing like our merch, sending him good luck.
Yep.
And then he gets a seat. So it just, the power worked overtime, I guess.
Exactly. Are you at all worried about his this next half of the season with him being in the Alpha Tauri? Are you concerned it's going to be McLaren 2.0?
Yes and no. At first, I was more so than I am now, because he did an interview yesterday. Well, it came out yesterday with F1, where he's super insightful, talking about where he's at right now. And it made me think this was more of a thought out process than maybe it appeared on the outside, because I think some people thought maybe he got pushed into it, and maybe in some sense, there was a sense of urgency, but I'm not super worried. I feel like he has to know what he's getting into, and I think if there wasn't some sort of inkling on his end that this could lead somewhere higher up with the Red Bull seat or something, I don't know that he'd be putting himself in that position. So
yeah,
as long as the car is balanced and consistent, which is the opposite of the McLaren was wildly inconsistent. So I think if it's not that way, even if it's not a fast car, he can probably work with it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. And I feel like it's like he's been through the whole McLaren downfall, so he knows what he's getting himself. I feel like he would have done his due diligence to like make sure he's actually ready for it and to not make the same mistake again. If that makes sense.
Oh yeah. I totally agree. Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before too, but I feel like not that he didn't have a support system at McLaren, but I feel like Red Bull was his home for so long that he's going into, even though he's at Alpha Tauri, he's going into a place where he knows people. Christian's got his back. Like at minimum, even if he doesn't perform the way he wants to, I feel like he's going to be still raised up rather than beaten down like he was at McLaren.
Exactly. And
agreed.
Liam Lawson also, I don't know if you guys saw this interview. He basically came out and said like he understands why Red Bull went with Daniel, because basically they want like experience and he just needs to focus on the Super Formula Championship. Do you think, like, what do you think is going to happen to Liam?
That is a great question. I feel like they just didn't want to interrupt his development. So I don't think that there's any sense in putting a rookie into F1 partway through a season.
I agree.
They learned their lesson with that. So it makes sense to let him thrive, finish Super Formula. I think he just won a race yesterday or recently. So he's doing really well. So I don't see any point in switching him out whenever they can evaluate Daniel against Yuki and kind of use those options as well.
What do you think it's going to take for, like, will Daniel have to completely be terrible and then Liam comes in? Like, I just wonder what their plan is, because are they going to just leave Liam out of F1 for a whole other season again? Like, I don't know where he fits into their plan, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
I don't know. I guess I'm a little bit confused, because I kind of think that he could come in 2024, but at the same time, we've heard that Alpha Tauri kind of wants to be closer to Red Bull. And so maybe they have a long-term plan of, say Daniel's not, handedly beating Yuki and they're not confident about replacing him with, replacing Checo with him. Maybe they leave him in through 2024 and then Liam in 2025, but I don't know if Liam's going to want to wait that long. So I have no idea, but I think that he has to be there kind of next slot in, Liam. So
I know, it's like, how much longer is he going to wait around? I don't know.
Yeah.
I feel like
exactly
strings these people along and then it never ever comes to fruition.
Yeah,
because he's already done F2, so Super Formula is kind of like the next step.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And maybe I'm just like too delusional, which is fine, but I just have and I think I've said the opposite of this before, so sorry, my mind changes sometimes, but I feel like there's to what you were saying earlier, Daniel knows more than the rest of us, obviously. Like, he made this choice because he knows what the game plan is, like, behind the scenes. And I don't know, part of me just feels like Checo's not going to be in as long as, I don't know, maybe that's just my own little theory, but part of me just can see Daniel taking Checo's seat earlier than anticipated and Liam coming into Alpha Tauri.
Yeah,
I agree.
It's definitely possible.
Weirder things have happened. So
last year's silly season was crazy. I mean, insane. Anything can happen. So
totally. Yeah. Speaking of silly season, we've already gotten some really insane rumors, not so much for next year, but for the coming years. And I just want to get your thoughts on them, Lizzy. The first one being that apparently, allegedly, Lando Norris has a pre-contract, whatever that means, with Ferrari for, what was it, 2025?
I think so.
Do you
it's further out.
Do you think this is even remotely true?
No, not really, to be honest. I feel like he's so on the McLaren train to even kind of whisper over to Ferrari and see what they're doing. I don't know. I just feel like it's not super plausible.
I just don't understand what a pre-contract is. And I feel like something like that ruins your negotiation ability also,
Right.
And I mean, I wouldn't want to be contracted anywhere near Ferrari at the moment.
Right. And seems, because we said this too, like, it seems like if you were to go anywhere other than McLaren, it would be Red Bull. Red Bull fits his brand. It fits like the type of, I don't know, just like personality that he is with one. And if you've been watching Ferrari at all for the last handful of seasons, it's like, what makes you think they're ever going to get it together?
Yeah. I feel like he has to have more confidence in his own team at this point. He knows what they're doing behind the scenes than jumping to Ferrari, which are all over the place, really.
Exactly. So I guess we're all saying that's very unlikely to happen.
It's also quite possible, like Ferrari wrote a pre-contract for him and he's never signed it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
They want him.
Yeah, like it's possible that all of these documents exist, but like he's like, you're out of your mind.
Yeah. To be honest, I wouldn't be surprised because so many teams probably want him.
Oh, for sure. I think any team would take him. I feel like. This point. Okay, the next one is that Mercedes is interested in Charles. I'm assuming for when Lewis retires, they would like to bring Charles in. Do you think Charles will go to Mercedes?
No, because he's so devout to Ferrari. But at the same time, stranger things have happened. I mean, of course, I'm going to say no and then watch it happen in a couple of years and I'll eat my words. But I just don't think so.
Hannah, you?
Well, I've kind of felt the same way. Like it feels he is Ferrari in a lot of ways. And I think it just comes down to if they get better. I mean, as a competitor and an athlete, I can see it becoming one of those things where it's just he can't do what he wants to do at Ferrari anymore. Like if Ferrari improves over the next handful of years, I don't see him going anywhere. But until they're competitive, like I know that he's like a Ferrari loyalist, but at the same time, like you can't just end your career in a bad team just because you love them. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I could see him making the move.
Right. Yeah.
Even Seb said like at some point he wrote on his helmet, you know, when they swapped something about like not wasting.
Yeah.
Waste your talent kind of thing. So I feel like it has to get to a point where how long does the loyalty stretch?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I feel like that's how it is in so many sports. It's like, yeah, you can be like loyal to a team and you can love a team. But like, if you feel like it's just not, at some point you have to like stretch your wings and try something different.
Yeah.
And I think I could see if Mercedes continues to make progress and becomes closer to Red Bull and Ferrari does not in the next couple of years, I could definitely see the move happening.
Yeah. It'll be weird not to see him in red though.
But I feel like Mercedes fits his vibe.
Oh yeah,
like
for sure.
I think so. I think more than Red Bull, to be honest.
Oh, for sure. Sure. Yeah. It's and like him and Toto, I feel like would be a good match.
I can't even imagine how night and day it would be to go from working in Ferrari to Mercedes. Like
so different.
Absolute chaos to absolute organized, just
down to a T.
Functioning operations.
Exactly.
It's got to be interesting.
Like, what is going on? I don't understand.
Yeah, right.
Everything moves so smoothly here.
Yeah. The other thing I would be so curious to know about, and this is like such a random tangent, but I just want to disclaimer, like I have so little knowledge about many other series, but like with the Le Mans stuff, it's like who's working on that version of the Ferrari that like, how are they operating well and making a car that lasts for a day? Like, what's the difference? I would love to compare and contrast the different Ferrari teams, like the structure and the operations and stuff, because you'd think it'd be very easy to determine where the issue lies. And they haven't figured that out yet, but here's hoping.
No.
Yeah, exactly.
Fingers crossed.
Who knows? Okay. And then the next one is that Carlos Sainz is going to go to Audi when they join the grid in what is it, 2025, 2026? Again, I feel like this is the most likely.
Yeah.
Yeah, given that he's worked with Andreas Seidel before in McLaren.
Yes. And also I could see him wanting to be like the guy on a team.
Yes. Like, oh yeah, for sure.
The main guy, the like star of the show. He's not really at Ferrari, even though it's close, but anyone that watches F1 knows like it's Charles Leclerc's team.
Yeah.
Like, it just is. And so I could definitely see him being like, well, let's take this chance on this new team. Well, I guess not new, but updated team where I can be like the number one driver and be like the guy that everything runs through.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
I
feel like it's a little bit more plausible than the other two.
Yeah. And so is that when Carlos's contract is up? Would be when
his contract's up at end of 24.
That's the thing that's so interesting about this sport too, is like everything's like, well, in 2 years, so-and-so is going here. I'm like, in 2 years, they might not be in F1 anymore. Like if for whatever reason, Ferrari didn't renew Carlos's contract or whatever, and he didn't get a seat, like is Audi still going to just pop him back in? I don't know. All that stuff is just so interesting to me, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And then this is not really I guess it is a rumor, but there was it was talked about that Alex Albon, I guess, turned down Red Bull in some capacity. And obviously, I don't know if that meant like Alpha Tauri, if that meant the Red Bull, seat. I actually believe that to be true. I could see him being like, you burned me once.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you a second chance.
Yeah.
I
When
agree.
he's got a really good rhythm going right now, because I think that's the thing, that when you are doing really well and then all of a sudden you leave, like anything could change. Like he's found a rhythm. Williams is he doesn't need to go back to Red Bull, because I don't want to see him sad again.
No, it's kind of like one of those things where you see how much Daniel's demeanor has changed coming from McLaren to Red Bull. You can tell that sometimes someone being at a different team is just the difference that they need.
Yeah,
the environment is what makes the difference.
Yeah,
and
for sure.
The grass isn't always greener. Like, it's not just because you're like, yeah, it's a better team. It doesn't mean it's always going to be better for you personally.
Right.
And who knows what, a longer stint at Williams could do for him.
Mm-hmm.
What seats open up later on down the line. And I kind of think it was one of those things where it was the Alpha Tauri seat that was maybe on the table.
I think so too. And I also feel like with Williams, like, they're making progress. They're getting better. Like, who knows what could happen with them just as a team as a whole too. So I think it's smart for him to, like, again, be the guy. Everyone thinks he's amazing, like, because, I just feel like why shake it up right now?
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll see what happens there. Okay. I also want to run through some people who do not have contracts yet for 2024. So we feel like silly season won't be super silly, but you never know, given the people that maybe don't have deals set in place. So obviously the big one is Lewis. There have been talks about him getting his contract in place. What do you think is going to happen there? When will that be announced? Will it be announced? What's going on?
It has to be announced at some point this year. I feel like they've been talking about it too much not to, but I have no idea when, because sometimes they wait until right before the summer break is over so they can talk about it when it's over. I feel like that's the most common time. I don't know that Lewis is going to want to wait until later in the end of the year.
Right.
I feel like he's going to want to just get it over and done with. Yeah, have it done.
Yeah.
So that's my guess. But honestly, with the way things are changing, anybody's guess is as good as mine. I have no idea.
Yeah. I
don't know. I'm still not sure if he's staying at Mercedes. It feels weird to me that they haven't just done it yet. And I get that negotiations take a long time and whatever, but I feel like we were talking about it a lot. And then I feel like and maybe it's just because sometimes all the information is like too overload and I tune out, but it feels like it's not as active of a conversation anymore. I mean, obviously Danny's come in, that's taken over the news cycle in F1 for sure, but part of me wonders if there's a bigger story there than just like, oh, we're just in negotiations, but like we're going to handle it. Because at last I heard about it, they were like sitting down to execute the thing. Now, of course, if they didn't come to the table with what Lewis asked for or whatever, there's a million reasons why it might not have been executed yet, but I don't know. I guess I'm just always prepared for the wildest thing to happen.
I know, like waiting for the other shoe to drop and something shocking happens. Yeah.
I mean, the most normal thing would be like, okay, Lewis is staying at Mercedes. You're like, okay, great. But I don't know. Something feels different about this one, but
we'll see.
I guess we will.
Okay. Joe, do you think Joe's going to get re-signed?
I think so. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
Yeah. I feel like, Alpha Romeo has been bad this season. They've like been, I mean, we talked about this on a podcast recently. Like, I just forget about them, honestly, both of them, Valtteri and Joe. Like,
pretty anonymous.
I just don't ever really, they're barely in the conversation for like good points, or they just kind of are there. And, but I feel like Joe's done a good enough job, and there's no one else really around that's like threatening that seat. So I can't really see them making a change.
No. And that combined with the backing he has.
Yeah, exactly.
He's doing a solid job. He's what they need right now.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. And then Kevin Magnussen still doesn't have a official contract for next year, but Gunther's basically said he wants those two to be re-signed, which I know Hannah's a big fan of both of those drivers, but I find the Haas lineup to be kind of a little bit boring. Like, I kind of wish they would try something new, like get someone more. I feel like they're just going for the stable route rather than like, let's take and I know that he's been burned by rookies and new people before, but I would maybe like to see like some up and coming Ferrari driver in that seat, like something a little bit more to shake it up a little bit.
Yes.
If anything, I'm a little bit surprised about Kevin, just because I feel like compared to Nico, he's
for sure.
So I think his contract is up before Nico's, and maybe Gunther wants to sign them both again. But I just feel like if you were going to put somebody else in for someone, I think it would be Kevin.
Yes.
Even though, I like him well enough, but if you're going to like switch it up and try something different, I think maybe with Kevin, although that would be a shame given his path back in,
Yeah.
Right. That is
I know.
You're
business.
You're like the flavor of the month, and then you're yesterday's garbage.
Mm.
It happens like,
it's a fickle business.
Sure is.
Okay. And then the last one is Logan Sargent. Do we think he's going to get an extension?
Yes.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't, again,
it seems to be the Merc way. Like, we need to keep developing this person. I mean, I know. I don't, it just feels like something James would do.
Right. Well,
yeah.
And also, I just think he, again, has done well enough. He had a really good race in Silverstone, almost got points. Like, he's developing. He's not so far off. And again, I think they like even though it's kind of funny, I was going to say they like the American money, but I feel like he is not even the most, Daniel is the American driver in F1. It's not Logan, unfortunately. But they probably like being able to be like, yeah, we have an American driver. We have the only American driver on the grid, so give us all your money.
And James has made comments too about how he's been impressed with his progress.
Yes.
So, and in like a genuine way, I think with different teams, there's different words that they say where you're kind of like, well, that means the opposite.
Right.
When Red Bull says something about a driver being safe, we're going to put our arms around them. We're going to, all this kind of stuff. You're like, danger, you know?
Yeah, right.
But
run away.
But with everything that James Vowles is saying, it's like, no, like you can tell he genuinely likes him and thinks he's doing a good job. And you can see that too. You can see the progress.
Yeah.
And he hasn't been costing them a bunch of money. He hasn't been like crashing every other weekend. I mean, especially going from having, no offense, Nicholas Latifi in that seat to then Logan, who at least like keeps it on the track.
Yeah. I mean, facts are facts.
It's a win.
It's not an offense thing.
No.
This is what it is.
It's what it is. Okay. Last question for you. A little prediction.
Okay, great.
Where do you think Daniel will finish in Hungary?
Oh, no, don't do that.
Okay.
Oh, in Hungary. Okay, I thought you were going to say at the end of the season.
No.
It's like, I have no idea. They have 2 points so far.
No, just in Hungary.
In Hungary, like in the race?
Yes.
Listen, I'm going to say cusp of the points.
Okay.
It's a track he's won at before.
Yes.
He knows it well.
Yeah.
Granted, he will have only 3 hours to get up to speed. And Hungary is notoriously difficult to overtake on as well, which is like, okay, maybe I'm not helping myself here, but I'm going to be optimistic and say cusp of the points. So not specific.
Okay, yeah, I was going to say that's not specific.
No, let's say like 11 to 14.
Yeah, I think that's good. I was going to say 11 to 13, 11 to 14.
Yeah, something like that.
I'm going to go big.
That's not bad.
I'm going to say Daniel P10.
Wow.
I'm going to say P10. He's going to get that 1 point.
Okay.
I'm predicting it's going to be a bit like Hungary. What was it, 2021? When
Valtteri went bowling. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And a bunch of people DNF'd. And I'm not saying it's going to be like that specifically, but I think there might be a bit of chaos.
Right.
Daniel will be able to squeak in there and get a P10. And it's going to be the story of the
weekend. The cheers for Daniel.
Wouldn't that be ideal?
Will be. I'm going all out. He's going to be driver of the day.
Oh, yeah. Of course
I think everyone's doing that anyway.
He could DNF and I'll still be driver of the day.
I know that was like half of the stuff I saw on Twitter. People were like, he's going to be P19 and I'm going to be cheering like he won. Driver of the day always.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I can't wait to see what the percentage breakdown is for driver of the day between Daniel and everyone else. Yeah. I bet it's going to be very skewed.
Exactly.
It is.
Well, Lizzy, thank you for coming on and discussing all of this with us.
Of course.
So fun. Can you please let everyone know where they can find you, see your content, just see more of you in general?
Yes, I'm just Pit Lane Lizzy on Instagram and TikTok. I changed my Instagram recently to just be myself because I work in motorsport. I wanted it to reflect me. So I'm Pit Lane Lizzy everywhere. And I kind of use Twitter, but not anymore. So let's just stick to the Pit Lane Lizzy.
Thanks for coming on. It was fun chatting with you. It's been so long.
It has been long.
I know.
Okay, guys, thank you for listening. Send out your good vibes for Daniel Ricciardo this weekend. Manifest. Let's all wear Enchante merch or just your Daniel Ricciardo merch. Send out positive vibes. It worked
all week long.
So, yeah, let's just do it again. And we'll see you guys next week.
Enchante.
Enchante.